All right. You ready to roll, Steve?
Every day of the week.
I love it. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We got a great turnout, and I appreciate you taking a few minutes away from your day. We know how busy everybody is, but like we always do around this time of a quarter, we discuss what we launched in the previous quarter, so our Q1, and give you a sneak peek at some of the more substantial technology we'll be launching in Q2. When you look at where our roadmap is in 2025, and I'm sure where our roadmap will be going to portions in 2026, it's about making those manual processes that take time, that allow the bad guys to maybe get a step ahead. The more we can make autonomous, the more we can do to remove those manual processes, the more we can do to have our amazing expert 24/7 team really working on the challenging things, allows us to make sure that you are protected in your endpoints, your network, and of course, throughout the cloud. That's our promise to you. So when you think about this past quarter, which we'll be going through what we recently launched, we wanted to make sure these updates really met not just being autonomous, but more proactive than reactive, right? Sometimes when you look at the security operations technologies, whether you call it security operations, SecOps, MDR, SOC as a service, right? It's the same thing, but they're very reactive technologies, right? In that something happens to then trip something up to then do something, whether that does something, it happens with the technology or a person. And we look at security operations a lot different at AgileBlue. We want to be proactive. We want to understand the vulnerabilities and gaps, because the more we do that, we can harden our customers' infrastructures before there's any type of attempt. Number one. Number two, when you look at slow response times, too many alerts, right? Alert fatigue, not just for our team, but more importantly, our customers. Those lead to more reactive types of decisions, and we want to reduce and eliminate those. And then finally, too many siloed tools, right? When you have too many tools, different dashboards, even though people say they share information via APIs, do they really have all that information together at the right times to correlate it and make intelligent decisions on a response in the manner we all expect, right? Fast, but accurate. Can't just be fast and not accurate. You got to be fast and accurate at the same time. This is where we look at our roadmap and the critical issues that we are absolutely trying to solve. So when you look at what we recently just launched after our Q1 release, there's really four main components to it. One is a little bit more for our partners, but when you think about autonomous response, this is a huge, I guess, direction for our industry. And there's some folks there like AgileBlue and a lot of folks not there, right? Steve, talk a little bit about autonomous response, maybe the vision around autonomous response, what we just launched, and maybe where we're also then taking autonomous response as we fill out the rest of our roadmap, Q2, obviously through Q4.
Yeah. So autonomous response we view is more or less the ability that if we find a case that's already been, is malicious, and we know that there's a threat actor that's, occurring, malicious activities are happening inside that network or that machine, that device. The next big step is, outside of alerting, is responding as quickly and as efficiently as you possibly can to either block what's happening on that machine, prevent from speaking to, C2 servers, and just hindering that kind of operation until a more proper, you could say, remediation effort occurs on that machine. So kind of stop the bad stuff from happening at that moment in time until we can get a better grasp and actually remediate the problem. So for autonomous response, we've had that tie in into our cases. So now if we deem that case as malicious, instead of having to have potentially maybe some communication back and forth to the SOC on how you want to respond or to isolate that machine or those kinds of things, we can, as soon as that case is noticed more or less as a malicious case, it automatically starts applying remediation efforts to respond to it as quickly as it possibly can. And some of those that we have is our kind of our standard one, which is fully isolating that machine. We've added the ability to now disable user accounts inside of an Active Directory structure in case you have lateral movement using user accounts. We also then, because isolating a host completely can be a little bit damaging to a business. So we've added more or less a more what we call a surgical approach of just disabling or blocking just those malicious IPs that we have within inside of that case. And all these things happen that moment that case gets deemed as malicious. These get executed onto those devices that are affected with inside of that case. So that way we can get that response going, not in, you could say maybe 30 seconds, but we want to bring that down to, 5-10 seconds to minimize, that threat actor's ability to do something else. And as part of that, because we also know that all these things can have some detriment, and we know clients need to kind of have that ability to have some control in there. We also made this, for the most part, fully customizable with tagging. So now once this is enabled, you can tag which machines will get, isolation or just run more or less our response commands, or we don't want anything to happen. It needs to get approved because that's, our process, and that's, kind of how we want things to operate. So more manual approach. So we kind of let more or less give these tools and how they get executed, more or less back to the, into the hands of our clients.
No, that's great, Steve. And the word speed came up, I don't know, 5 to 8 times during what you were saying. And we'll show you guys some of these enhancements here in a second. We won't just stay in PowerPoint view the whole time. But accuracy follows, or actually precedes, the word fast. The last thing you want to do is disable accounts, block IPs, isolate devices, whatever the response is, with bad information, right? We want to make sure we're accurate and we're fast to make sure we are stopping that movement. Also, when you think about Sapphire AI, and we'll just go around this in a clockwise fashion. We want Sapphire AI, which is the brain of our system, to absolutely understand what's happening to every case, cleaner, faster case summaries, understanding what's happening. We're going to show you our enhanced artifact table, because I always relate this back to when you were in well, probably grade school. Maybe different for me. Maybe I wasn't the fastest kid, but when your teacher said, "What's 6 times 6?" and you yelled out 36, and then for me it was a nun. It was Sister Rosemary, and she said, "Well, now show me your work." And I said, "Uh-oh." I didn't know how to show my work. I just maybe have good memory. We want to show the artifacts, everything going into these decisions, everything going into the response. It's also a way for our platform to continually learn, because there's always going to be false positives. There's always going to be things that we could be learned, especially in cybersecurity. It's such a dynamic industrial pace. There's no doubt about that. Our artifact table really includes a lot of great thing to really bring those quicker insights and show you our work to make sure I can trust. I absolutely trust AgileBlue. Before we talk about Sapphire, I'll mention ConnectWise. For those of you on a call who are our partners and use ConnectWise as the brain of your organization and how you run your ticketing systems and things like that. We recently launched a very deep integration. I believe ConnectWise is, if they're not the biggest, they're probably the second biggest, definitely top two. That bi-directional integration to streamline workflows for you so you get the data you need. And then obviously always also have the ability to manage cases directly from ConnectWise platform, pushing that data back into AgileBlue. Again, working with our customers, hearing what they need, ways to make your business go smoother, because cyber should not just be a roadblock, right? It should just be supporting your business to make sure everything is secure. And then we'll dive into and taking a look at some of these things, the Sapphire AI SOC Assistant. Sapphire SOC Analyst is our LLM that has data specifically on you and your implementation. You can't ask Sapphire to write you a proposal or to do this for you, to clean up an email like you would with ChatGPT, but it works the same exact way in knowing everything about you, in enhancing all that data you have with threat intelligence, So Sapphire AI Assistant can also help you be proactive. Which devices pose the biggest risk? Let's say you have 1,000 devices on your network. Which are the biggest risks right now, Sapphire? Hey, Tuesday morning, let's go. What should I look at? What was the alert types that were most common? If my risk score has changed, why? And how can I make it better, right? We want our analysts to understand your data deep so we can answer these questions and work with you in a collaborative manner to make sure we're constantly improving your risk score, constantly improving the visibility of the application that you've entrusted us to manage. So I'm going to just pop out of this real quick. And then, Steve, make sure you see my screen here.
Yes, sir. We could see it.
Beautiful. Okay, so obviously our portal, and just want to call out a couple of these larger items. Steve mentioned, and Steve, it'd be great to hear your perspective on on this of how we're able to be more customized for the autonomous response. Steve, you kind of just want to walk through a little bit about how the autonomous response will look, how it can be tagged, and how we can be customizable for all of our customers, whatever their playbooks tend to look like.
Yeah. So as Tony has displayed up, this was inside the setting page to be able to even enable this to begin with or disable. When it's on, you'll kind of want to see what you're kind of seeing here, and it's kind of what we discussed a little bit or mentioned earlier is these are more or less tagging, which we can show also on the device page. There's two ways you can, you know, segregate devices and place them in these kind of buckets. So you have that full response option, which would be isolating machines, also blocking IP addresses, disabling accounts, kind of running through whatever response kind of actions are available for that case. Then we also have, more or less a isolate only. So we're not going to run any response actions. We're just going to isolate that machine and proceed. Then our task list only items, which would be those other remediation items. Those would be all we're running. We're not going to isolate that machine because it maybe has some critical business function that we cannot really have go down for, a period of time. And then, of course, we always leave it as a final option because those first three would be your automatic ways. So the moment those cases get isolated, one of these three options you have selected for those devices will trigger those types of response items. And then, as always, there's always the manual option. Just in case we don't really want to have that response happen right away, there needs to be some communication happening, so that way you can break these out and have it so it works the best way it needs to for your organization.
Thanks, Steve. Completely customizable, and obviously working with your customer success team and your customer success expert will work this all out with you to make sure you have exactly what you need for your organization. So switching screens, let's talk a little bit about, let me just go ahead and type. We'll talk a little bit about Sapphire. So if I ask Sapphire, what is my most risky device on my network? Sapphire can come back and look at a lot of data, right? If you asked one of our 24/7 team, hey, what's my most risky device? We can figure this out too really quickly for you, or you can as well. It just might take a couple of minutes, right? With Sapphire, in under 20 seconds, Sapphire can look at all your devices, whether you got 100 devices being managed and monitored by AgileBlue or 5,000, whatever. We can look at all those devices, look at 6 months of log files, just like Sapphire's coming back and saying, hey, this assessment covers devices that have checked in within the last 6 months. So looked at 6 months of log files, understood the risk scores, understood the vulnerabilities, and said, hey, here's what I think is your most risky device. Show me my top 5, my top 10, whatever the number is. Sapphire's there to do a ton of work very fast, right? If you want, is my DNS server under attack? Again, could you look at the data on this? Can you talk to somebody on our team? Absolutely. We're there 24/7 for you. By the way, all you have to do is connect me with a human with Sapphire. Sapphire will connect you with a human. But asking a question like DNS, looking at log files 6 months, looking at IP addresses, DNS queries, attack indicators, all this in about 20 seconds to come back and say yes or no, or hey, maybe I'm confused and I don't know, but let's pull in a human being. This is what you expect from your SecOps provider. And Sapphire can come back and say, no, your DNS server is not currently under attack. Here's what I found. Do you want to continue to dive in? Here's the great thing about Sapphire. Sapphire truly understands your data. It's not knowing the world. It's not knowing the secrets of the world or what's going to happen in the future of our world. It knows your world right now and all that historical data. So Sapphire can also say, hey, you're not under attack, but would you like me to monitor specific DNS and look into these incidents? The whole point is Sapphire is there to not just give you answers, but also walk you through of other things that we might want to bring out. And down the road, I know we have a lot of great ideas for Sapphire. We're starting to test them now in terms of responses and things like that. Steve, way back in the day, when you were a youngin', you used to be a security analyst. As you think about Sapphire moving forward and being able to do great things like you see on screen, what's some of the vision we see for Sapphire Assistant and how it's going to help our customers?
Yeah. As we kind of more expand what Sapphire is able to do, we're looking into options of how do we bring even more information or more context around devices and cases, to be able to provide just that much more information relative to what's actually happening. So that could be, instead of even just kind of centering around just, client-specific data, and we might be looking at adding in additional pieces of threat intelligence into this process to also relate that through to provide just more context to pull out instead of it being a case-specific thing or data-specific. We can bring in more of these other items to expand its ability to have that kind of understanding, that reasoning. So when you ask questions of if is my DNS server under attack, it might say, hey, there's nothing under attack, probably in that more data might say, but here's maybe some other critical things you might need to look into based on these other findings or based on your industry. Here's some things you might need to watch out for. Those are kind of as we develop through, that's our goal is to be able to provide that additional things as well as potentially even help in even deepening our investigations to help analysts even be able to be, a little bit more to increase more of their accuracy and their speed on discovering more information, more context, more details for a case.
Yep. And more responses. So if my DNS server was under attack, Sapphire, please isolate my DNS server, or please disable this account right now, and Sapphire will be able to take care of that. These are things that are being tested and worked through because we can't just have Sapphire doing a bunch of things if we're not 100% confident it's obviously the correct decision. And then there could be more, let's just say, utilitarian based applications like Sapphire. Send me my reports for the month of April, whatever, or for Q1, whatever it might be. Having Sapphire be that assistant that's able to do anything within your security operations infrastructure. And then we could look at some of those artifacts like we just talked about. So when you're looking at a case, and this is a case that involves 24 tickets. I mean, think about that, 24 tickets on a case. In a lot of systems, you have to look at each one of those. A lot of systems, maybe they get grouped together, but then you have to assess those. Not only is our platform able to use generative AI to understand those log files and understand if it's malicious or benign, here's the which you see in this piece right here, that we're able to do that using generative AI. Now we can show the artifacts in a little bit more visible and interactive way to show you what's happening. Let you understand the view of everything that we're monitoring here and able to ingest from DLLs to hash reputation, source IPs, destination IPs. I mean, you guys see them all. I'm not gonna reiterate those for you, but everything. We are looking at everything to make sure there's no stone unturned. It's not just a log file and we'll see what happens. It's correlating all that data together because we're not siloed. We're looking at that data in a holistic way and being able to show these hashes and more of the details around them. And then what's the reputation? Is it benign? Is it malicious? How do we look into this event even deeper? This is what's going to give not only a potential human being, a 24 analyst that might be looking at this, but Sapphire, when Sapphire can make a decision, is this malicious as a whole or potentially benign? And then one of the things Steve also discussed was the response task list. If there's a response task list that's got 10 things on it, or maybe one like this example does, where Sapphire is saying, hey, I think you need to disable the administrative user on this account for this specific case. And that can easily be done by us. You can send this work to us if that's something that's part of your playbook. Maybe you want to be the final arbiter of what you want to have happen based on how you view the workflow. Send it to us to take care of. We're there 24/7. We're not just a technology company that produces a great SecOps platform. We are a team of 24/7 experts that's there to be your team, a true extension of your team. That is what our 24/7 team is for you. And please feel free to use our team as such. That is our commitment and our service to you. Um, Thanks for that, Steve. Anything else you'd say on the artifacts or the response task list that we just went over, or Sapphire for that matter?
No, I think we got it cleared up pretty well.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the slides. Steve, just give me we good to go? Back to the slides?
Yep, we're good.
Beautiful. You got to love it when things work. So next up, right? So that's what we just launched. Those are things that you're working through with your customer success folks now. Those are in production, and that was our Q1 release. Let's take a look at what we have coming up, though, for our next quarter, Q2, not Q3, Q2. Maybe we got a little bit of a typo there. That's okay. Humans aren't perfect. That's why we use a lot of technology. It's why we use a lot of AI. But let's talk a little bit about that, Steve. The way we look at AI is it can't be everything, right? It's not like you're just buying an AI system, you just let it go. We think AI works best when it's perfectly paired with human experts. And we think human experts work at their top level when they're perfectly paired with great technology like Sapphire AI. So, Steve, when you think about our next release, and by the way, for everybody on this call, when we do a release, we have major components to it and then a lot of little things, right? For these calls, we don't go into all the little things, but they will be in the release notes, and all of our clients get those. We just want to make sure we talk about the more important things today, answer your questions, and then get you back to your day. So you just didn't feel like you blew a whole bunch of time on every little incremental thing. So, Steve, talk a little bit about Q2, what our team is working on, and how that AI decisioning, how we're currently working the AI decisioning, how we're putting more engineering time that will probably never not be part of decisioning, and what we're doing as Sapphire is going to make fast decisions, but more importantly, extraordinarily accurate decisions.
Yeah, so the team currently we're hard at work in the process of building more or less what we are going to be is our decisioning process. Um, this is going to be looking at more or less taking kind of a level one view, so a low level, which you consider is like a analysis of all the cases that we ingest, and the goal there is to find those cases that have a very high confidence that they're going to be a benign case. That this is not something that needs to be reviewed or any further investigations required. The goal of this is that kind of like what Tony had kind of mentioned of having experts also pair with the great tool sets. This is where we see that decisioning is kind of that additional tool that just helps elevate our analysts and the work that they perform. Because most of the time, nobody really wants to do what's considered non-challenging work. And that's where decisioning is going to come in to kind of more pick up those, low-hanging fruit, the easier cases that are more or less, this is benign. These are, normal activities. And then when it goes to an area where it's has a low confidence it's benign, or it's a little bit unsure of what the answer is, it's most taking that more difficult case and handling that to our human analysts who, are going to be the expertise to be able to go down, do the nitty gritty, the understanding the research to say, hey, this actually is a malicious case, or this is actually a false positive. And then we're taking that information, also feeding it back into that system in order so it can learn. So the next time these things happen, it has a little bit more understanding and kind of can grow and learn as we get more and more of these cases, as our analysts are able to do more supply their expertise in the areas that's needed. So that way everyone's a little bit more productive, and the main goals we're looking to be able to decrease those, more you could say, is that response time is included.
And I think a key message here is our confidence score, right? The last thing anybody on this call, the hundreds of customers that AgileBlue has, is for us to make decisions, whether that's a human being or technology, AI technology, and that confidence score is not high, right? We know we can move fast. We know we have the ability to get through a lot of data. We know we can pair that data with great threat intelligence and correlations. A high confidence score generated in a fast fashion really puts us ahead of a potential compromise, having us to have the ability to not just mitigate that risk, but stop something from happening. And that's key. The way we look at cybersecurity is mitigation. And the more we can mitigate for you every day, all day, is where our technology is going. So, high degree of confidence in that decisioning, showing our work, letting our technology continually learn from each other gives us that high confidence. And more importantly, you that high confidence that not only do we have people in a 24/7 SOC, but more importantly, they're working on the challenging things while they're utilizing their technology to do the hard work, look at all the data coming in, and be able to make that decision with a real high degree of confidence. At the end of the day, our goal is not just to increase efficiencies, but more importantly, accelerate those response times. At the end of the day, that's the number one thing our clients, expect from us, and that is to move fast and accurate and make those responses so we can mitigate and stop everything that could be happening in a not so helpful manner. All right. With that, we gave you guys about 30 minutes of updates as to what we launched, what we're going to be launching. Of course, what we will be launching, we'll be sending out notes and updates to you guys as we get closer to the end of Q2. This way, you'll be able to get your mind around it. We'll do demos for you, answer any questions you have. And of course, customer success team is always there to train you and work with you on those things. So with that said, what questions can we answer from the Q&A? And here we go. Okay, Wade Hoffman. Wade, will auto tasks be added as well in the near future? Wade, it's a great question. Had this question the other day. The answer is yes, it's definitely something that's going to be on the roadmap. Let me get back to you. We'll take a note down. We'll get back to you on if that's going to be a Q3 or Q4 implementation. But great question, Wade. And like I said, we'll get back to you and tighten up that time frame as well. Another great question, will Sapphire be able to create and implement in our environment a custom attack response profile? Okay, so also what permission level does Sapphire have in our environment? Read only or is able to read write? Steve, why don't we break this question down into two parts? So Sapphire in the customer's environment, read, or is it able to read write?
It only has permissions to read.
At this point. So it's a great question you ask. And like I said a little bit earlier, the right stuff, if we're going to be doing responses off Sapphire Assistant, that is, that will definitely be something that can have that next level. But that comes with a lot of testing and a lot of working through with our customers to show how that's going to work. Second question that was asked, or I guess the first part of the question, Steve, will Sapphire be able to create and implement a custom attack response profile in a specific customer's environment?
That's something we're looking to as potentially as a future item, to kind of a little bit expand upon the current method of more or less, working with the customer success team to kind of build out what kind of responses devices get. But those are items that we're kind of looking to in the future. But it's a good question.
It's a great question, and stay tuned on that one. It's definitely something we started kicking around here, and I can't imagine it won't be part of our upcoming roadmap shortly. So we'll get back to you on that. Like I said, any questions we answer, I'm never going to commit to something because I don't want to put my team in a bad position, but we will make sure we will follow up with each of you on when we are going to do whatever we say we're going to do. Next question, are there any plans to create within the portal a drop-down option for closed by? So we can view the cases that were escalated and closed by an internal team, meaning the client's internal team. Sounds like a great suggestion. Steve, any thoughts on that point?
Um, yeah, it does sound like a good suggestion. It might be something we'll kind of run by our team and see kind of what that could be.
Yeah, sounds like a great point. I can see the use case for that. When we add technology based on customer questions and customer recommendations, we want to make sure it hits all, multiple applications across our customer base. That's a great one. Really like it. And let us look into that and get back to you on that. Follow up with the AI assistant. Will the AI assistant be able to inventory information such as this? Liam, I don't understand exactly what you're asking there when you say such as this. I don't know if you want to define that a little bit deeper, and then we'll come back to you. And if not, let's talk about it. Find out whoever you want to get in touch with, me, Steve, your customer success person, whatever. We'll get it answered for you. I just don't understand what you're asking for the inventory information. Or are you saying how many devices are on my within my network right now or something like that? The answer is yes on that, but I don't know if that's what you're asking. Next question, by the way, great questions, everyone. How do you address prospects who are interested in your platform but not really comfortable with the AI component? It's a great point, right? And here's the way I look at it. Um, Cautiously optimistic. Man, you should be in marketing at our company because I completely agree with you, Dylan. It's a great point. That's why I said it can't just be AI for the sake of AI. And it can't just be AI that you're saying, well, Sapphire AI said so. That's why when you look at the cases and anything Sapphire AI touches, it's explained and detailed. That's why we did so much more from the artifacts perspective to show exactly the work that Sapphire is working through when it's investigating, decisioning, and potentially responding to something. And that's why we're constantly showing our customers why and when, not just, hey, take our word for it, right? So it's a great question, Dylan. That's why we do so much testing. That's why we talk to our clients pretty in depth to understand and let them understand how it works. And to know we're not just there, like Agile Blue right now isn't just some computer running like you'd see in a science fiction movie and it's just running and Steve and I are out golfing. First of all, we don't have time to golf. Second of all, Steve's golf game needs a little bit of help. So does mine, though, right? Our team is working, I mean, obviously 24/7 and extraordinarily diligently and tirelessly on monitoring our clients. We utilize the AI within our systems right now to get rid of some of those manual workflows that are faster and more accurate using our technology. We're not asking you to say, hey, everything's AI, just trust us. We're doing little parts, little rollouts, as you saw today. We'll see in Q2 and we'll see for the rest of, well, this year and probably every quarter to continue to roll this stuff out and show how it's working. We always say to you, our job is to earn your trust, not just for you to give your trust. So with anything else in life, we got to earn your trust and show you our work is coming across, Dylan. I hope that answers your questions. Sam, okay, Sapphire looks great. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. And Sam, I think I knew you were going to ask this question, and it's definitely one that comes up a lot and one we are absolutely working through right now. So any updates on SSO into the portal? It's on the roadmap. It is on the roadmap for 2025. It will get done in 2025, whether that's Q3 or Q4. I will pin that down. In fact, Steve and I are obviously on our product committee, and we're talking about that at last week's product committee. So this is something that will happen in 2025. It will happen. Let me get back to you on exactly when, targeting Q3. But let me just throw that out there, and I will firm that up with you, Sam. We'll get back to you on it. But thank you for that question. Okay, a couple more questions, and then I'm going to get everybody back to their day. But if anybody has anything else, please throw them out. In addition to the first note about the close by section, does it only pertain to the logs in the SIM, which is Elastic, or cases in the AV portal as well? Steve, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so assistant, if you were to, you should be able to ask assistant because it'll know what those like those details on those cases. So pertaining to like your first question of ordering by drop down within the case page, assistant, you should be able to, you can ask it that question because it does have that information as part of its context. So it's information it's able to grab and return back to you. So it might be a bit of a work, you could say is a workaround for now until that kind of a drop down is set for a filter. But you should be able to ask it questions of, any of the members of your team that are in our portal and saying, hey, for this user, how many cases have they closed? Can you provide, information on that, or, those kinds of questions there.
And Liam, great question. You've been asking some great questions. So obviously, if you want to dive deeper into any of that, let us know, Liam. Let's just have a conversation about it, whether you're talking to Steve or someone on our engineering team or customer success, whatever it is. Josh, does Agile Blue provide incident response? The answer to your question is yes. And if you need any data on that, information on that, just let us know. But Josh, great question. The answer is absolutely we do. We do for a lot of our customers. So happy to talk to you through that anytime. Um, Wait, in addition to SSO, will additional RBAC be added to the portal to further break down access controls for NOC teams and sysadmins? Steve, you can take that.
Yeah, it's
You knew I
it's
was going
our
to punt that to you. Come on.
I know
This is
our
your baby.
back's just role-based access controls. Yes, is we kind of dig into that, expanding out for that SSO item, implementing RBAC, and kind of tying a few things together, in order just to be able to display information as well as what's accessible within our portal and potentially reaching across and what's accessible in our SIM side to kind of bring that all underneath the one umbrella. So those are things that we'd be looking into and potentially adding as well with integrating with that for SSO.
I can see that way definitely being part of the requirements that go into the SSO functionality. All right, last question as of now. Sam, it's a great question. So, Steve, Sam is asking the AI analysis. And by the way, Sam, if you ever want to have a discussion with Andrew Carmelli, who's been on our team for ever, I just aged him, but he's a young dude. He's just been at Agile Blues since day one, and he was a youngster. Are the AI analysis focused on data on specific devices? The answer to that's yes. Can it recognize patterns, obviously, across devices, including data coming in from syslog, from obviously network devices? Steve, talk a little bit about that and how we can correlate across endpoints, network, things like that. And then, Sam, if you ever want to dive in deeper on AI and machine learning and how we do that, happy to set you up with a conversation with Andrew, who lives and breathes this every day of the week. Steve?
Yeah. So for area or analysis, kind of how that gets constructed and built is based off of that case. So what we do for those cases as well as in those artifacts is tying not only the correlated events that are happening on that device, but any other relevant correlation that's also tied with those events. So the goals within that case is to bring all that data together. And then that's what the more or less our AI analysis, that's what gets performed on. It's the case and all the data as a whole. So as we build upon that, and expand out more and more that capability, it's all stemming from that case and that type of data that we provide into it.
So, Sam, hope that answers your question. The answer is yes. And again, everyone a deep dive, just let us know. We'll get that call set up for you with Andrew and Steve. Man, you guys had some great questions today. It's a good thing I had a little power bar for breakfast, not able to stand up and answer the questions. All right, great questions. And does anybody have any other questions? Sam, any other questions come in via the chat, or is that it? And we're going to give everybody a few minutes back to their day. People don't want to listen to me go for they already listened for 40 minutes. They don't want to go 20 more.
No, Tony, I think that's it. You guys covered it.
Great. Great questions, everyone. We love how interactive you guys are, how smart and thorough your questions are. Hopefully, we were able to answer them all for you. So at the end of the day, any questions, let us know. We'll get those answered for you. But of course, like we always do, we have a giveaway. I guess giveaway. Two attendees are randomly chosen to win a brand new Ninja Creamy. I didn't even know what a Creamy was up until a couple weeks ago. Obviously, I don't have any pop culture rolling around in my head, but the thing looks fantastic. And if you can combine protein with ice cream, my goodness, that's like discovering plutonium, in my opinion. But Sam, do we have the winners? And I don't even know how we do this. Do we announce it here? Do we send an email? How do we do it?
Yeah, so we can announce it here. Sorry you guys can't see me. I got my camera off, but hopefully everybody can hear me okay. So we randomly selected two of our webinar attendees today, so I can go ahead and announce who they are. So our first giveaway winner is Bob Hackney, and then our second one is Dave Griffin. So congrats to you both. I'm going to be sending both of you an email here shortly, so we can get some addresses to ship you your brand new Ninja Creamy. So congrats and thanks for attending, guys.
And I'll just say I like vanilla with about 30 grams of protein if anybody's interested. Okay, nobody's interested. All right. Any questions for Steve or I? There's our emails. Feel free to contact us there, calls, however you guys want to communicate. If we need to add other members of our team to those calls, Steve and I will get it scheduled and take care of it for you. But guys, you guys are the most important. You're our reason for being. So we love our customers. Know we're working tirelessly for you. And of course, if you have any further questions, let us know. But if you have any other platform roadmap items you'd like us to consider, just let Steve or I know, and we'll work through that. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone.